Not in the beginning. In the beginning, he was quite rude. And from that moment, he goes, "You're an arrogant son of a, food is very personal."
And speaking of those stories, we have you've named huge Hollywood stars like Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, George Clooney, amazing actors, Joanna Cassidy, William Hurt. When you were, I'm assuming, I mean, your Hollywood life has been so many decades of work and amazing people. The list of people must be pages and pages long. What was the process like deciding who makes it into the book and deciding who you had to leave out?
Well, you don't like everybody you've worked with and everybody you've met. Food is very personal. In the old days, they'd serve you poison. You know, in the French 18th century, you'd be sitting there, and if you were an enemy, they'd serve you a dish with poison. That's how they got rid of enemies. But I don't know. It's like Dame Edna, who I was best man at his wedding, which was Barry Humphries. He was very particular, and he was also a person who loved art. So he would, walk around my house looking at what kind of a collection and made his judgment on it. And the same thing with the food. He would taste it and he would give you that qualifying look that he approves. Omar Sharif was different. When I worked with him, we had champagne and caviar every day because that's the way he lived. And telling me stories of Lawrence of Arabia and many of his other films. And I think because I looked like his son, he was very taken. Not in the beginning. In the beginning, he was quite rude and quite distant. And it wasn't until I was about to start the first scene with him where he comes into the room. And when I met him, he was kind of distant, shook my hand and said hello. So when he comes into the room, he's supposed to slug me after something I say. And he says to me, "By the way, please, when I hit you, do not go over this 18th century table and break it. It's very important that we are respectable about this table." And I said, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere." And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, Omar," I said, "if you hit me and I go flying out of that table, where do you and I go for the next 4 hours?" "No," I said, he says, "Well, what will you do?" I said, "I'll probably adjust my tie." Well, he started to laugh, and that's how it started. And so how do you infiltrate a person's personality who comes in defensive? Working with Bill Hurt in Altered States, I had some very difficult dialogue because it was very technical. How do you make it real? And so I started to do the sequence, and he says to me, "Is that how you're going to do it?" And I said, "Why? Is that how you're going to do it?" And from that moment, he goes, "You're an arrogant son of a. And I said, "So are you." So from that moment, we kind of clicked. And when we joined hands in Mexico, away from Warner Brothers, we had a good bond. And so I never stood for his star attitude. And, you have to call it. And so I don't like that kind of, when someone brings that, I go, well, leave that outside.
So once again, the book is called Seducing Celebrities One Meal at a Time. And can you please let us know, where can we find more? Where can we find you? Website, social media? Where are the best places to find this book?
Well, I have the podcast, which I just finished, The Lost Treasures, which is on Spotify. That I'm very pleased with because it was because in many ways I love being an archaeologist in some way, and that's why I took a lot of the journeys I did. So it really is about the Trojan horde, the Mycenaean horde, and where the Trojan War started. And the third one really is about Ulysses coming home. And so I explored that last year. So for the last 2 years, I wrote this 4-segment podcast. And I'm now beginning to write another one.
Well, we will check out the podcast for sure. And we're going to be looking for the book everywhere books are found. We'll see you at Barnes and Nobles, at the Grove. It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you and talk to you about family and food and delicious things. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.